This is Gemara in Kesubos, the Daf Sadi Beis, Gemara Chesima Tova, going Gvitol, a schos to be able to continue learning the Daf each and every day together. We pick it up on the bottom of Sadi Aleph Amid Beis. We're about 12 lines from the bottom, in which the Gemara continues. The first word of the line is Saluki Salkua, Au Gavra de Zamta Liksuvasa di Imi B'Tevis Hana. There was a person who sold the ksuba of his mother for Tevis Hana, for a small amount of money. Usually Tevis Hana is a term that's used with regard to Kehanim, etc. But here, Rashi explains it just means he sold it for a little bit of cash. Va'amar la, and the person that sold the ksuba of his mother told the buyer, my mother comes and protests that I'm selling your ksuba, Loi mifasinu lecha, I will not save it for you. Meaning, this is a form of sale without achrayis. We know there's two types of sales, which we should remind ourselves, as this can be very relevant to a lot of today's discussion. There's with achrayis and without achrayis. Anytime you make a sale with achrayis, what does that mean? That means that in the event that the sale goes sour, that someone else who I owe money to comes and collects this field from you, you could come back to me and say, what's going on? You sold me the field, and I have a achrayis, I have a guarantee, and I have to help you out. If I sell something without achrayis, that means you're taking a risk. If you want it, great. You obviously get it for a better price. But if someone comes to collect it from you, someone who I owe money to, you cannot come back and have any claims against me. So similarly, in this case, this person sold this ksuba of his mother, and he said to the buyer, my mother comes and protests, I'm not going to help you. And what happened? Shechiva ime. The mother died. The mother didn't protest the sale. The mother was nifter. Va'asa v'lo ara. And the mother didn't say anything. So the buyer seemingly thinks he's golden. He gets the mother's ksuba. But va'asa iu v'kamara. He himself, the son, the one that sold the ksuba, came and protested the sale and said to the guy, what are you doing buying my mother's ksuba? I want it back. So Rami Bar Chama thought, no, you have the same halacha as your mother, and just like the mother would have been able to protest the sale of the ksuba, so too the kid. Meaning, even though you are the actual son that sold the ksuba in the first place, but just like you sold it without achrayis, that if the mother would have protested, she would have won the fight, so too you, the son, is able to protest and get back the ksuba in lieu and in place of the mother. Amar le Rava comes along Rava, and Rava says, says Rava, this is ridiculous. I understand that this person didn't accept the achrayis of his mother, but achrayis didei miloi kabul. But it makes no sense. It can't be that he doesn't accept his own achrayis. Certainly that he does accept, and therefore he cannot protest the sale. We're seeing from over here a bit of a chiddush that even though it's sold without achrayis, there's a level that is implicitly understood that you, the one that sold the item, can't be the one to protest. Now that exact detail is going to transfer into the next story. Omar Rami Bar Chava. It's a little bit of a confusing story, just confusing with the names. Reuven Shemachar Sadal Shimon. So let's use me and you, whoever the listener is. I sold a field to you, Shaloi Ba'achrayis, and I tell you, this field, I'm not guaranteeing it at all. And if I own money from someone a year ago and that guy comes to collect from me and I don't have what to pay him, he's able to come to you and get the field in payment for the loan. Vasa Shimon, and you go, Umachale Ruvain Bachrayis, and you sell it back to me, so I buy back my field, but this sale is with achrayis. I pay more money. I say, I don't want to take any chances. I know you, and you might have people that you owe money to, and therefore I buy it with achrayis in case someone comes to collect it. So we turn over to Sadi Beis Amin Aleph. It says the Gemara, what happened? Fascinating. V'asa Baal Chayv Diruvein, my own Baal Chayv. Let's say my original sale to you was on January 1st. You sold that to me on February 1st. and let's say someone that I own money to in December, before the whole story comes, so just like that person would have been able to come to you and collect, he comes to me and says, that field that you just bought back, I want. And he wants to collect it. So says the Gemara, what's the halacha in this case? Dinu dazel shimin umvaisi la. The halacha is that Shimon, you have to go and save it for Reuven. Since you sold it to me and you guaranteed my sale, you sold it to me when I bought it back from you, you sold it with achrayus. So now that this guy is coming to collect, it's true, it's my own creditor, but the ma'isa, at the end of the day, you sold it to me with achrayus, so you have an obligation to me, so you have to make good on the sale. And Amar le Rava, and says Rava, nothing doing. It's true. Then I bought it from you. You guarantee me against the whole world. Achrayus didn't have shame. It can't be that you accepted the own guy's achrayus. And since it's my own creditor, you do not have to save the field for me. But says the Gemara 4 lines down, that Yibei Zamaral of Maida Rava. But Rava is Maida. Sheyarish Sadeh Miyakov Umachar L'Shimon. Rava's Maida in a very similar case with a slight nuance. Sheyarish, if I inherit a field from Yaakov, not from you, from a third person, and then I sell to you, meaning the same story, but it doesn't begin that I sell one of my fields to you. It begins that I got a field from a third party, and then I sold it to you. Shaloi ba'achrayis, and then Vasa Shimon Machla Reuven ba'achrayis, and then you sold it back to the achrayis, Vasa ba'achrayis to Yaakov. Now it's not my own Baal Chayv, but rather it's the third party's Baal Chayv, the third party's creditor that comes to collect the Kadar Vleiminei, and he collects it. Dinu Dazel Shimon Vaisilei. In this case, it is indeed the din that Shimon has to save it from me. Minei, my taima, Baal Chayv di Yaakov, Baal Chayv di Alma Tami. Because this is like a random Baal Chayv, and when I bought it back from you, I bought it back with a Achrayis, which means that you guaranteed me the sale. You said you're going to make sure that no one takes it away from me. Now someone is taking it away from me. And therefore the halacha is that you have to give it back. Omar Rami Bar Chama, says the Gemara, Ruvain Shamachar Sadal Shimon Ba'achrayis. A similar case with 13 lines down. The first one line is Shamachar. Ruvain sells the field to Shimon with achrayis. V'zakav alav b'milva. Now, let's say the same case. Well, I don't want to make it that you don't have money. So I sold the field to Shimon. But Shimon has no cash to pay me for the field. So Zakav Lav Milva. He writes up a shtar, an IOU. He makes it into a halva. Shimon now owes me $100 for this field. Well, let's actually give a different case because I don't want to have to be nifter for this one. So let's just use Reuven and Shimon like the Gemara says. Reuven sells the field to Shimon. And Shimon has no cash. They write up as a milva. Umeis Reuven. And Reuven, the seller, is nifter. Va'asa bal chayv de Reuven. So someone that Reuven owed money to comes. V'katarif lami Shimon. So he goes to Shimon and says, Shimon, Reuven owed me money. You, Shimon, owed Reuven money, so pay me. Uvaisi bezuzi. And Shimon says, okay, it's true. I owed Reuven cash. I owed him $100. Here is the $100 I owed Reuven. Says the Gemara, Dino de Amri lebnei Reuven. The children of Reuven could go to Shimon and tell Shimon, Anan mitaltali shava kavun gabach. My father, says the kids of Reuven, left by you, Shimon, mitaltalin. You owed my father cash. And the halacha is, and cash is not mishubid, cash is not encumbered, cash is not something that one is obligated to pay for the Yisayim. So the kids can tell Shimon, I know that you just paid this guy, but guess what? That money was never mishubid, and therefore, I'm sorry to say, Shimon, you still owe us the money that you owed our father, and that is indeed the halacha that Shimon would have to pay them. But says the Gemara, what if Shimon wants to save himself? 15 lines at the bottom of the Amid. The first one line is Mishtabdi. Amar Rava yibegech idach. If Shimon is smart, magbile nahalei ar'a, then he should give the kids land. That if Shimon is smart, after Shimon just paid off to these Baal Chayiv, and now the kids are coming along and saying, guess what, you still owe us cash. You know what Shimon should do? Shimon should say, you're right, I owed your father $100. here's a piece of land in payment of that debt that I owe to your father. And then Shimon could go and take the land back from them. Why? That if the Yisayim collect land for a debt of their fathers, the Baal Chayv could recollect it, and therefore Shimon could give them the field, but he would indeed be able to go get it back for the fact that he paid the Yisayim. So that is how Shimon could potentially save himself. Says the Gemara, another case with a guarantee with a chrayis. Amar Rabba. 10 lines from the bottom. The first one line is Reuven. Reuven shamachar kol seidais of the Shimon. Reuven sells all his fields to Shimon. V'chazer Shimon machar sadachas Levi. And Shimon goes and sells one of those fields to Levi. V'asabal chayv de Reuven. So someone who Reuven owed money to comes after Reuven sold all his properties to Shimon. Ratzim izegayva, ratzim izegayva. Says the Gemara, he could either collect from Shimon that bought all the properties of Reuven, or he could collect from Levi. Because since Levi bought a property from Shimon, which originally originated from Reuven, the creditor of Reuven could collect either from Shimon or from Levi. But it qualifies the Gemara for lines on the bottom. Says the Gemara, this is only true if Levi bought Beinanis. There's 3 qualities of land. Idias being the best, Beinanis being the medium grade, and Ziburians being the worst. So says the Gemara, this is only when Levi bought this medium grade. Why? Aval the Idis Viziburius. But let's say Shimon and Levi, what do they buy? The best and the worst, but neither of them bought the Beinanis. Then they could say that no, we don't have to pay from you. The reason being is because which quality field does a Baal Chayv collect from? The Baal Chayv collects from Beinanis. So Levi could say, I purposely went and bought the best and the worst so that we don't have to be bothered by the creditor. And now the Gemara qualifies this further and says, and even if they did collect Beinanis, that's only not true. They only have to pay the Beinanis. It's only if they didn't leave over Beinanis in the same amount. If Shimon's estate still had Beinanis after Levi bought it, then of course you have to first go to Shimon's estate. Aval Shavak on Sadi Beizim and Beiz. Aval Shavak Beinanis Kavasa. But if Levi left behind similar medium grade land, then Levi could say to the creditor, what are you coming to me? I left over an area that you could collect from Shimon's estate, and you have to indeed go and collect from there and not from me. Continues the Gemara, Amar Abai, in the second line, Reuven sells a field to Shimon with a chrayis. And someone that Reuven owed money to comes and grabs it from Shimon. Do you know who the halacha is? The Azul Reuven, even though he's grabbing it from Shimon. But because this creditor came from Reuven, that Reuven owed him money, Reuven is able to go, and Reuven is able to settle the account with him. Reuven is able to go to the Baal Chayv and either pay him or figure out where the cash is due to him from. But says the Gemara of Lo Matzi Amar Alei Laval Dvarim Didiyat, the creditor can't say to Reuven, what are you doing here? I'm collecting this money. Why? Because Reuven's going to say, guess what? You're taking it from Shimon, it's true. But after you collect it from Shimon, Shimon's going to come back to me. So instead of Shimon coming back to me, I'm just going to deal with you straight. Vikidiyami says, another lashon, 3 lines in the bottom. Now that's a much bigger chiddush. Because in the first case, since the field was sold with a chrayis, then Reuven's going to end up coming back to Shimon. So I understand that Shimon is able to talk to the Baal Chayv. But says the Yiga the Army, the second lashon, even if the original sale was without a chrayis, he still could fight the case for him. Why? Could say, I don't want Shimon to have tarumais, to have complaints against me. And even though Shimon won't be able to properly collect from me because he bought out a chrayis, I don't want him to have complaints with me, and therefore Reuven could say, I want to settle the account with the Baal Chayv. Amar Abaye, and the last line said, Reuven Shamachar Sotel Shimon Shloba Achrayis. V'yatza Alav. Let's turn over to tomorrow's daf for a quick moment. So Reuven sells a field to Shimon without achrayis, without any guarantee. And then the Yatza Alav, and against the land there comes about Asikin, protesters. People are saying to Shimon, this piece of land was never originally Reuven's. So you shouldn't think you bought it from Reuven, but guess what? You bought a bag of air. So before Shimon actually made a chazaka, made an acquisition, a kinyan on it, he's able to renege on his sale. But once he acquired it, why? Because Reuven can say to him, guess what? You bought a bag full of nuts. I sold it to you. You didn't want a chrayis. It's your tough luck if it ends up being that it was never mine. Says the Gemara, at what point is it considered a chazaka that Shimon can no longer back out? The first shot is when he walks along the borders. Even if he's older with a chrayis. Reuven can still say, show me the tirfach, show me the collection document, show me who's taken away from you, and only then I will pay for you. But in the meantime, you have to let him collect the field, and only later can you settle the account with me. And we'll pick up from the Mishnah on the next year. B'siyata d'ishmaya.